So our main character is involved in a grocery store shooting that killed the store owner, and he's waiting on his trial when he's only 16 years old. Do you believe that children deserve a second chance, no matter what the crime?
I do believe they do deserve a second chance because I have seen it. I deal with juveniles in the jail, and some do, get that second chance, and they do very well. Others don't, but yes, I do. I would give them a second chance. Yes.
Oh, okay. Here's my question. In our class, but the main character, Steve, writes about his personal experience as an inmate. What would be running through your head, your thoughts, if you were in prison, or the thoughts the inmates you were with?
I couldn't handle it. Being in law enforcement for 20 years as a correctional officer, no, I couldn't deal with being on the other side with prisoners. I couldn't do it because they have free roam, but the guards are in control, but yet the prisoners aren't, or are in control. I couldn't deal with it. I think I would probably kill myself for being in jail because it is a rough place. It really is.
Steve, the main character, talks about how inmates fight, blue razors to toothbrushes, and carry a knife around. Do you experience anything like this? How do you handle the children's behaviors?
I have dealt with prisoners that sharpen toothbrushes down to shanks, as we call them. They've sharpened them on their picnic tables because it is a metal picnic table. They've sharpened them down. It was in a controlled environment, so nobody got injured, nobody got hurt. I mean, you just never know. There's shanks been found in shoes of a piece of metal. You never know what you're going to find when you go into a cell. It's not a controlled environment. It really isn't. I've never been hurt by a shank, knock on wood, but it is scary. Scary.
The judge now about decided to send Steve to prison. His choices can impact greatly. How does your job affect you after you are done working? Are there choices that you might make that you could regret? Do you get a bad feeling that you said something wrong to a child?
No, I try to watch what I say to kids because kids are sensitive to what kids take in what the grown-up's gonna say to them. So I'm very sensitive to the kids, and I just kind of be there for them if they need to. If they're having a bad day, they come in because their parents don't love them. They beat up somebody, and then they say, hey, my parents don't love me. So I try to reflect on the feelings of the kids. I try talking to the kids, try to make them a better person and help them understand, the world isn't bad. You're just gonna pick a different path. Hopefully things get better. So, yeah, I try to be there for them.
In an interview with the author of a book, he said that he didn't think that kids should be going to prison at such a young age, and that something should be done about it. Have you ever worried about a young inmate getting hurt or possibly threatened by her whatnot?
I do worry about kids going to prison. I really do because I've been in it for so long. I know what they're capable of doing. I do get scared for them, but yet they've had chances before the judge says you're getting sentenced. You're going to prison. They've had several chances, but yet on the other hand, I do feel sorry for them because I've been there, seen what can happen. It is a scary world for them. It is. Very hard.
In an article from USA Today, some teens receive punishments that are equal to those of adults. Do you think severe punishment is necessary? Have you ever disagreed with a young woman's punishment? Also, have you ever been hand in hand with a severe juvenile case?
Yes, I have. I've dealt with many juveniles, bad cases from aggravated battery to severely beating an elderly woman to, is the punishment severe enough? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, they give them a lenient sentence and the kid goes out back on the street and does it again. No, sometimes it's not a strong enough punishment for them, cause they just keep repeating and repeating like a revolving door. They keep coming back in because, you know, hey, they let me off on this crime, they'll let me off again, you know, and then the third time, he's going away, and then he's like, you know, what'd I do to deserve this? Sometimes punishments are severe, sometimes not enough.
I actually do have a question on this. Have you ever heard of the show Scared Straight?
Yes?
Do you guys have any Scared Straight programs, or going off of that, would you consider it, and maybe those students wouldn't come back, or those juveniles wouldn't come back to jail?
We don't have a scared straight program, we do not. I would believe in it, cause I think it would help kids, your guys' ages, you know, lower, cause I've had them 10 years old in my jail. You know, and it's just, it's weird, it really is.
Thank you.
I have a question. So here's another one. Have you ever grown emotionally attached to a young inmate in particular? And if so, have you ever broken or have you broken the rules for him?
No, never,
Never?
no, I never get attached to anybody coming in. As many times as they come in, I never ever get attached. You do not, that's just one rule you don't break.
So you've never broken a rule for one of the juveniles?
No. Cause if you break one rule for that inmate, for that juvenile,
You get
then this other juvenile over here says, well, hey, you know, you did that for him, why can't you do this for me? And it just trickles on down, so never ever give in to anybody. Adult, juveniles, it doesn't matter, do not get into them.
Do you ever worry about a child's future?
Yeah, I do. Hopefully they get straightened out, you know, if they do go to prison and they come out, hopefully they get straightened out. But yeah, I do worry all the time about them, because it is scary, for me anyway. I don't think sometimes they get scared about it, but I do for them, because I know what it's like on the inside with inmates.
Has anybody ever received the life penalty or the death penalty that you know of, a juvenile?
No, not that I'm aware of, not that I've dealt with, no.
So, what motivated you to take this career?
Well, before I came into this, I was a paramedic on an ambulance, and it was just one day I'd had enough of the ambulance and called them and said, hey, I'd like to come to work. And it was just one of those, oh, I think it'll be easy, I think this will be a cool job. You know, I got into it and it was nothing like I expected, nothing. It was more, you know, I never dealt with drugs, I never dealt with drunk people, never dealt with kids, you know, all ages. It was just something eye-opening, but I do enjoy my job, I really do.
Earlier you said, earlier a question was asked about any severe cases. Like, have you ever had someone come in through the system who has like a child, like a younger or as young as us, come in like drunk or like brutally beaten someone, or ever like been high,
A kid your age?
or our age or a bit older or younger?
Teenagers wise, drunk, you mean, or?
Yeah.
Come in and they're just woozy or they're just
Yes.
you know, look.
Yes, they've come in drunk, they've come in on, high on drugs. You know, we have to totally watch them. Our facility is not meant to house juveniles. We take the juveniles in, we book them, and then they go off to Chicago, or they're going to St. Louis, they're going to Quincy, you know, and then they come back and forth to court, and then once they get sentenced to prison, then we ship them on out to Chicago, which is a very rough.
St. Charles?
place. Yes, St. Charles, yeah, Bevel down at St. Louis, Adams County, the detention facility.
So you're basically just a holding unit?
Yes, we are a holding unit, we can only house juveniles, I think it's 6 hours. So once they come in, we get them booked, then they gotta go to the judge, and then they're sent off to the facilities.
And how old do they have to be housed in your facility?
18 in an adult facility. Anybody 18 and above can be housed in an adult.
No, I'm saying juvenile.
Oh, juvenile, 17 and under. I've had them 10 years old.
Really? And have anybody like 10 years old come in drunk or high or?
No. No, they just got mad at their parents or, you know, had a bad day at school, you know, take it out on the teacher or principal or whatever, and then they're coming in, you know, it's just one of those things.
And does that go on their record, like if they were to sit and be sentenced to a prison?
Yes, yes, because they do get fingerprinted by us in the adult facility, and then they get shipped off to the prisons, and that goes on their record.
What's the youngest child you've ever encountered?
The 10-year-old.
10-year-old. Was that a pretty messed up case?
A sex offense.
Oh, really? That's surprising
Crazy.
that he even has the mind to do that.
Yes, correct. It's very, you know, hard to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah, that'd be real.
Equal influence to do those things.
Well, everybody has excuses. Well, you know, it happened to me. You know, somebody did it to me. I've seen it done. They got by with it. You know, just many excuses. So I don't know why they did it. You can't ask them why they did it. You know, it's just going beyond too many questions for the cops. But it is kind of crazy.
Is there a certain technique you use like to maybe like reinforce them or like help them in like just like each like different ways to like reinforce some or just
Restrain?
or like restrain?
Oh, restrain them?
Yeah.
We have various different ways of restraining somebody. We got a restraint chair we use that, you know, we put them in the chair and they're usually handcuffed behind their backs, and then the straps go across each shoulder and across the lap, and then the legs get shackled, you know, restrained down below. We can do it that way. Sometimes if they're not cooperating and they start banging or look like they're gonna tip the chair over, then we restrain them to the floor. There's a metal ring on the floor that we take a chain through and loop them through, and we set them there for, you know, 15 minutes. And then we check on them to make sure if they're doing it right. Usually 15 minutes after you restrain somebody to the floor, they're saying, okay, I give, get me out of here. And they usually cooperate with you, and, you know, you have no problem the rest of the day with them.
Do you guys have any tactical like weapons, I go to say, on the person when you're in the facility?
The only
Protect yourself?
backup that I really have is my pepper mace.
You guys don't have extended batons or?
No, we don't carry batons. The only thing we carry is I have pepper mace on me, my handcuffs, and I always go in if I have an unruly inmate is my partner. We're going in. Otherwise, they can fight right in front of me, duke it out, blood's, you know, going everywhere. I'm not going until I back up, until it's secure. You know, because I'm not going in to get hurt.
Have you ever been physically harmed in such a way, like, pushed down, punched?
In 20 years of doing this, I was hurt one time. I mean, I've been in multiple altercations, but there was one that the guy was fully restrained, and he didn't like the sergeant I was working with. And I had 3 inmates I had restrained, and I seen he was having, you know, problems with the sergeant. So I sent mine through the door. Sergeant come around, and she had him up against the wall. He was still fighting her. So we turned him around, threw him on the ground, started wrestling him, still restrained, fully restrained, legs, hands, everything fully restrained, still fighting us. He was turned around, he wanted to bite me, so I did a thumb pressure to the back of the ear. Well, he got mad about it, and we rolled, and when we rolled, my arm went the opposite way, underneath him.
Oh, is that what happened to your arm when
So I had a rotator cuff here.
at Christmas last year?
Yes. I was out for 8 months on it. So you just never know.
Do you
Fully
have to go
restrained.
through any physical training before?
Yes. I have to go through 5 weeks course. Once you get full-time as a correctional officer, you have to go through a 5 weeks course. And it's takedown tactics for a week. You're out in the gym and you're doing every kind of tactic possible that you can think of that you might use over your years. So, yeah. You never know what you're gonna encounter every day.
'Cause I remember, like, maybe last Christmas or 2 Christmases ago at Tim's, you restrained me and put me in chicken bone and put your knee to me, and I'm like,
That's just a little taste of it.
Yeah.
Do you need, what kind of like knowledge or like school education do you need to be,
To be a correctional officer?
yes?
You have to have a high school diploma. And then from there, sometimes you can get hired part-time, is what I started out was part-time. You needed nothing. You go in, as you go, they teach you different things, you know. And then after that, once you get hired full-time, then you go through 5 weeks training. And then from there, it's just experience everyday thing. You never know what you're gonna get into. You know, once I step on the clock at 7 a.m., hopefully I'm stepping out the back door at 3 p.m. Uninjured, going home. But you never know.
Have you ever had anyone like Steve?
No.
And that is a conscious thought going through your head every time you walk through the door at 7 at night. You're thinking, I might die.
Or, you know, I might die, because you never know, because in our facility, we house, U.S. Marshals prisoners, federal inmates. And they're in for murder, they're gangbangers, the big ones, they're in for drugs.
You
They're
house
in,
them?
They're in for big crimes. So them guys will look at you and say, I have nothing to lose, I will kill you today. What are you gonna do?
A lot of prison officers I know, they tell me like people have threatened to eat off their face or like use their toothbrush to stab them brutally until they die and make them eat their eyeballs and just
Yes,
stuff like that.
That's
It's like-
usually if they're on drugs, we know that they're coming in on drugs. They stay in a special holding cell.
like one of those metal like.
Cause they'll
Correct.
get off it.
Right. I mean,
Just
we're gonna watch them under
It's
camera
over.
at all times.
watch them and it's over.
Has anybody ever committed suicide in your facility?
No.
Have
They've
attempted?
attempted, yes. I had one guy that was placed in a shower cell, which all it is just a metal shower and a toilet. And he was waiting to get dressed out to go to the back. That's all it was. He was mad because he was in there. So he had on boots and his laces. He took the laces out of his boots, threw it up over a shower nozzle, and tried hanging himself in the shower. Luckily, I heard the banging because it's right next to dispatch, and went in there, and he was trying. You know, he got it around, and he was trying. He was finally putting the last of the bow in his shoelaces, attempting.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
in our book they said they take away like as you come in full prison mate, you come in they take
Take off
your
the
belt away and
Yes.
shoelaces away.
Yes, I mean, as soon as you come in the back door, you're getting patted down. Knives, anything, change, you know, whatever's in your pocket's going out.
Why would,
Shoes are going off.
why don't they do that while, before they put them on the bus to get to go to the facility?
Cause I know some people smuggle like razors underneath their tongues or like some like up there.
Our guys, our inmates that come in, our prisoners that come in, they come from the cop cars. We don't have a bus, you know, that picks them up
Oh,
and brings them in. Our guys actually arrest them on the spot. They come into our facility. So at that time, everything gets taken off, you know, everything out of the pockets, their boots, shoes, whatever's going off. There's nothing except you got your shirt, your pants, and your socks. And you're sitting there waiting to be booked. Back to a razor, guys have tried to commit suicide with razors. And all it is we have a Bic razor, disposable Bic razor.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a plain, simple, one blade. And he decided he didn't like jail, he was done with jail, and he thought the only way he could get out of jail was to take that razor out, break it, and he broke it into 3 pieces. Swallows it. Then he knocks on the door and says, hey, you gotta do something with me, I just swallowed my razor. Okay, so we take him out to the hospital and get out there and they examine him. Doc comes back in, he says, well, I got good news and bad news. Good news is you're gonna be alright. Bad news is you're going back to the jail. And he goes, what about the razors? Doc says you'll be just fine, you'll pass them right on out, no problem.
That was
the
personal.
razor.
It was cushioned, the doc said, it was protecting, he'll be just fine. So we brought him back, put him in the holding cell under observation because there was a camera in there at all times. Every time he went to the bathroom, we knew when it passed through because he yelled. So we knew each time it went through, and he was just fine. And he survived, and he never come back to jail.
So when they go in with the razor, they only go in singles, right? They don't have the chance to kill somebody.
Correct, because the razors, they only get it at nighttime. They get it at supper time, they get it from 5 o'clock at night, and they get taken away at 9 o'clock. We control who has the razors, and then when we pick them up, we write them down, so that way everybody's razor is accounted for. We keep them, they don't keep them in themselves.
Now, okay, so their cots, what are they made of? Because I know, cause some cots, they'll have springs in them. You can, take that out and use it as a weapon, because,
Our cots are not cots, they are metal bunks.
Oh.
They are a piece of metal, that's all it is. You got a bunk here, and you got one up above. There's some cells that have 2 bunks, some cells that have 4 bunks, some cells that have 6 bunks. There's no give on metal. Then you have a thin mattress about that thick you're laying on, and no pillow.
That's comfortable.
Wouldn't be comfortable with it, but that's all you get. And then you get your wool blanket, 2 sheets, a real thin towel, and a wash rag.
See, I can't sleep on those cots because I'm allergic to wool.
People who's allergic to wool get a non-wool blanket, so you get the real fluffy.
Still not gonna go in there.
I would say
not bad.
I was allergic to wool every time. I don't know,
Well, then they would just come to you and say, hey, go ahead and give me your fingers, and then you just rub the wool and they puff up or anything.
We never doubt them if they say they're allergic to wool. We give them a special blanket, as we call it.
Would you doubt if they said they were allergic to every blanket you put in front of them?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because if people have tried that, they come in, things are special. They've tried it, it doesn't go very far.
Tried what?
To say they're special, they get, high protein because they're skinny people, food, thinking, if I say high protein, they'll give me double of everything. It doesn't work. Come on. So, yeah, we kinda have to read their minds and stay one step ahead of them in the game, because all it is a game for 8 hours, for me. Because you never know what they're gonna do.
Have you ever had to use your pepper mace?
Yes, I have.
How many times did you think?
Oh, I try not to use it. It's a last resort because you're inside a closed room, just like this. You go in, they're fighting, and the only way they're gonna separate is by pepper mace. So when you throw the pepper mace on them, everybody else in that room is gonna get the effect of that pepper mace.
So
Are you gonna, do you spray at their eyes, or you just spray it?
You try for their eyes. If not, you spray something because the fumes are gonna get them. And believe me, it
Have
hurts.
you accidentally
there's no-
done it yourself?
I had to get sprayed.
Because that's
To
the
carry
training.
it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can carry it.
I
Is
was
you
just
gotta
about
get
to ask
sprayed.
that.
And let me tell you, it hurts.
It it's intensified quickly.
Yes. Yes.
I have another question. So there's no rubber bullets or
Nope.
like
That's
that
in the high
kind of
security.
intense.
No. No.
Like in The Longest Yard, that movie.
Yeah.
Where they
Yeah.
throw the
Usually if there's a problem back there, if you get a group, like the sheriff, the chief deputy, sergeants, detectives, and you go back in a group, the inmates kinda spread apart and there's not a problem. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say, okay, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do. So,
Have you ever maced a prisoner and it didn't affect them?
yes. Yes.
It's so
It
high.
does
No
work.
physical feeling?
Yeah, no, none. Just makes him mad, makes it worse, so you just
So I'm
kinda
guessing
put it
you were
away.
Pepper macing the whole.
Yes, yeah, cause, believe me, it does hurt.
He's just fighting and punching his mace. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't affect them. Some people it does not affect.
That's interesting.
How does it what do you do to wash it out?
Lots and lots of water. And it has to be cold water, because if you put hot water,
It's gonna make it.
it's
better
gonna
worse.
make it worse. I mean, it's that intense of a heat. If you put the hot water on, because believe me, I tried it, and then I went straight to cold, but yes, cold water and lots of it. Keep your eyes open at all times, because you close your eyes, you're done for. You're not getting your eyes open for quite a while.
Really?
And that's where I got sprayed, was right now, dead center of the eye, and it's hard to get your eye open if you don't automatically open it because you got sprayed. What we did is they lined us up, they sprayed us in the eye, and then we had to run a course down to the water hole.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get down to the water hole, you know, keep the eye open and just keep flushing.
But was there a hill that you had to go down?
No, it wasn't, no, it was just run down to the water hole.
See, I would have just gotten on my hands and knees and crawled.
No, it was a long ways. It was a long ways to crawl.
They also do more of an intense mace, pepper mace. Well, I forgot what that's called, but they'll like spray in the eyes and it'll affect like everything on your face, and you'll have to do the core strain and everything. But so if you close your eyes when you get maced, they just can you blink?
It hurts to even open them because your eyes are so tight. You've got them squeezed so tight that you have to literally pry your eye open to get that water in there. So as I said, the better you get that eye open, the quicker, the better it is to get your eye flushed out more. Because it does take a long time.
What if your eyes closed when you mace it?
Well, usually they kind of spray up above your eyes.
Oh, so they just do so.
Yeah, so when you do open your eyes, you're thinking, oh, I didn't get it, and you get to running, and it's just running right on down.
It's
Well,
like,
you're
it's
gonna
like
get
sweat. It's like run down. You get the nasty either taste in your mouth,
Yep.
or the sweat, or your.
all the above.
Yeah.
Does it permanently affect your eyes?
No, no.
Just at that moment.
Just at that moment. You're not able to see anything, and it's horrible, horrible.
How long do you think the pain lasts?
Mine was about a half hour.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's a long, intense, and then you think, okay, I've got it, going home, take a shower. Well, it was up in your hair when you shower, and the heat, it just comes all back down and intensifies again.
Do the inmates get like a chance to wash it out?
Oh, yes, yes. As soon as you spray an inmate, everything's settled down, you gotta get them the water in the system, help them get it out. Yes, that is a must, you gotta help them.
Cool. Anything else? Not really.
Nobody wants to be a correctional officer?
I want to be a police officer. Like
Yeah.
I've
That's good.
been wanting.
So,
Do we have any more additional questions before we close this video?
Have you ever had like in the kitchen, has anybody like thrown paper balls and like, do you have ovens in there?
No, our meals are made at a nursing home.
I was gonna say, have you ever had like fires start?
No, because our meals are from a nursing home on the other side of town and they deliver them to us. So the only thing we're handing them is their meals. And they get nothing else, you know, except a styrofoam container with their food.
What about like so? Does he get anything?
They get a spork.
A sport? So it'd be plastic. I'm guessing?
Do what?
Would it be plastic?
Yes, a plastic spork is what they're getting. They get no metal.
it's short. Like if you hand them a fork, they can do some things to other people, but if a spork is like that little.
It's just a little bitty spork about that
it's a,
big,
it's a
and
spoon, and
I know
then
you
you just
must.
take off the little, like maybe a fourth of an inch off, and those are the. It's not very.
So,
big.
has anybody ever put the spork in their pocket and then tried to hurt someone with it?
No.
You don't account for the forks, do you?
we kind of keep an eye on it. And if, you know, it gets out of control or whatever, we suspect something's going, we'll go in and search that cell, and we're cleaning everything out. You know, sporks, you know, they hide everything, they take everything that they're not supposed to. So, you never know.
Has a family member ever snuck anything in like that? You know, like movies, like they'll sneak like
movies.
something in like a cave.
No, because we never take anything from the outside. We used to take in underclothes. Families would say, hey, here's some underwear, socks, t-shirts. We'd take it through, we'd check them. And yes, we have found drugs in the underwear of the tags that's in the back, you know, the sewed in the back. They took that off, put the drugs in there, sewed it back up, and then tried to send it through to us. thinking we wouldn't look. But we check everything. But that stopped, so now nothing comes in from the outside except money, so that they can buy their commissary, you know, their chips,
That's actually really
candy
cool.
bars, you know, so.
And you have to go out to buy it. Someone has to go out to buy it.
The commissary gets boxed into us, and then the correctional officers will search it over, put it in a closet, and then they get to go to commissary twice a week. You know, they buy whatever, their hygienes, their snacks, whatever they want.
What kind of shoes do you guys do? Just
They get the slip-on shoes,
Like the loafers.
yes, and then they get a pair of shower shoes. If they wanna buy shower shoes, you know, to stay in the shower, they can, most of the time they're wearing those.
is this stuff expensive for them to buy, or is it just like cheap?
It's cheap. Underwear, socks, t-shirts are like $2, $2.50 a pair. Shoes, their shower shoes, I think is like $3 a pair. They're,
And the
you know,
t-shirts are how much again?
$2, $2.50.
That's not bad at
You know,
all.
so it's not bad, and then it's not, you know, the name brands. It's the cheapest you can buy for them. Just something to have.
In prison, they have like glass boots.
Yes, and prisons are different than jails. Prisons, they get to go out and, you know, do their work, do their chores. You know, in jails, they're staying in their cell, this big. They don't
This
get
is
to
their
go
cell
out.
size?
Some cells, we got 2 that are this big, others are about half this size.
It's like a resort for them.
No,
Yeah,
because
this is like a.
you take into consideration, there's a big steel shower, there's a steel toilet, there's 2 bunks and a TV, and it's half of this size. We control what you watch.
Have you ever
What do you
had
usually watch?
Sometimes you watch the dog show for 3 hours.
The dogs.
Oh,
I love that show.
No, but that's what comes on. If I say you're watching NBC, you're watching NBC all day long.
Basically, you guys would watch that.
We don't watch TV,
You know?
no. The
Oh,
TVs are in the
yeah.
cells, the TVs are in their cells, and we turn it on first thing in the morning and saying, okay, you're watching the NBC today, and you can listen to 92.3. We control your radio and your TVs. And the next day it might be, you know, country, and it might be, you know,
Can you turn
Yeah.
off the radio and TV?
yes, you're either watching TV or you're listening to the radio. You
But
can't have both.
you have power to shut them off.
Yes, I have control to shut everybody's off all at once.
No,
but
once?
the inmates, can they shut them
No, we control
Can
them.
they ask you to turn it off?
Yes, yes.
So you, like they take out the buttons, or you guys take out the buttons or something? or-
Yeah, the buttons are up in dispatch, because I do work 911 actually as well.
off? Wait, you're a dispatch?
Yes, I am a 911 dispatcher as well.
That's what you go around and do.
So, that's a very interesting job. I'd love to do, yes, I would love to do that better than as a correctional officer.
Have you ever got emotionally attached to one of the callers?
Yes, I have. I have taken many calls, but I had one that the grandmother called and said that her grandbaby was dead. And it was maybe a month old. And she was literally screaming, you know, she needed help. You know, I was doing CPR, trying to get everything, and she was just totally, you know, it was draining me, but not at the time, because I usually stay with it until after the call, and I can just fall apart after the call's done, you know, once the ambulance people get there. But yes, you do. It really does. 20 years, there's a lot of experience, you know, of calls like that. You get really attached to people.
My uncle has been through many. He's a dispatcher up in Washington D.C. and he says there's so many things that have scarred him through what he has done. Like I mean, what you see on CSI and stuff like that. That's just minimal of what you see in the field. I mean, there's so much like blood, gore, dead bodies, everything. Just terrible. He says.
You never know what you're gonna get when you pick up that phone.
Yeah.
You know,
Wait,
who
you
it could
pick up
be.
the phone and then you take the call,
Yes, because the 911 call comes right into me and I pick it up.
and
No.
then you take it.
And then I take the call and I'm, you know, giving it to the ambulance people, fire department, police,
Oh,
whoever.
so you
it
don't
needs to
actually
go
go
to.
on call?
No, I'm sitting right at the
Oh, okay.
console. It's something like this, you know, and I've got six
It's a desk.
6 computers in front of me. So I'm in control of that whole county. I'm dispatcher for the whole county, police, fire, and ambulance. If you need them, I'm doing it. As well as watching a big screen TV of all my inmates, the courthouse. Yes. So when I'm sitting in dispatch, there's a lot of responsibility up there as well.
Have you ever had a prank call?
Many. Yes.
What was like the biggest prank call that caused really a lot of commotion?
I've had kids is the main problem. It's kids.
Yeah.
But when kids call in, I'm gonna find you. And when I find you, I'm gonna send an officer to your house. And you're not gonna like the outcome of
Have you
it.
ever known it was a prank call the whole time? Or
Yes,
You have.
yes.
What was the
Sometimes you don't, other times you do,
What
but
was
you
the
gotta
most
get it.
severe prank call you've had? Like,
Right now I can't think of one. I mean, there's many, but I can't really say what the severity is one. You know, saying that his mom was injured, you know, so you just never know until you get there and then there's nothing.
and are you
There's
sure
nobody there.
he was in the right mind doing it, or was he kind
Yes.
of actually thinking?
Yes, it was a kid. Thought it would be kinda neat to see the police, but not in the way he thought. So his outcome was he really got a reaming from the police officer
Really?
Probably from his mom too.
and yes, from everybody else too, because they didn't know.
Have you heard that kid that called in 911 and asked for a math problem help?
Yes, I have. Yes. You just never know where you're gonna get on the end of that phone when somebody calls you. You really don't.
Somebody
But yes, that was
accidentally
really,
called
huh?
you? Has somebody like accidentally called you, like meant to call someone and like
Yes.
accidentally-
Actually, you know, hey, I am to get 511. I didn't want 911. I don't know how I got
So
911.
In that case, do you send people there still, or?
No, because, you know, most of the time that people say, hey, I wanted 511, is an elderly, you know, and you can
Oh.
tell that, oh, sorry, you know.
Um,
Most of the time somebody calls in, I'm gonna send an officer to your house, cause I'm gonna know where you're at.
There was just one lady on the news that called in the police station and she acted like it was a domestic abuse case, and she was acting like she was ordering a pizza on the phone.
Yeah, I heard about
And
that.
well, the girl was like, you know, the dispatcher was like, are you in trouble? And she said, yes, pepperoni. I mean, do you kind of, you
Yeah.
know, take
Yes.
on to those? Have
Yes,
had
you
those
have
calls?
you have to actually,
Like
when you
that?
take a call, you have to put yourself there. I mean, everything else goes away.
Have you ever
You're
had one of those
one.
calls, like, where you're basically in code with the other person on the other line?
I've never had to do that, no. I've had my partners do it, you know, they've had a couple.
Really?
But you just never know what you're gonna get when you answer the phone.
That'd be a cool
Do they
experience. to
train
have.
you for that? Like train you especially for those moments?
I'm sure it's just like a short mention of it happened.
Like-
No.
Like, mostly probably common sense.
It's mostly common sense. Usually if it's a medical problem, we have a book. We're looking through books. We're flipping cards. You know, you call in because you got a fall and broke your leg. You know, there's a card for that. But for instance, if somebody's being held hostage, you know, there's no card for that. So you kind of have to play it by ear on what's going on as well as talk to the officers
Oh,
as they're going
that's
as
what I
well.
felt like when dispatchers have like the exact, like the right words to say, like if he's having a heart attack or something, and they can step on what to do.
Yes.
I thought that was just common knowledge. I
No,
didn't know it was-
no, there's a big card. I mean, it's about this long of cards on everything possible. And it tells you exactly what you're supposed to ask them, you know, all the way to the end when the ambulance gets there. Yeah, it's in a book you're reading.
It's neat.
Because once in my life I've had dispatch, actually twice, come up to my house. Because my little brother, he would try and jump up our cat tree like me and my other brother would. And every time he do that, he would fall on his head and he would go back, he would just fall asleep.
Yeah,
And one time he was walking up the stairs, slipped, hit his head on the concrete, and we couldn't get him to wake up. So dispatch showed up, and like 5 minutes after they came, he woke right back up.
yep, you never know what you're gonna get.
Thank you.
When I got my first touch
So I mean, we have like,
I put a lock on it,
we have like,
and I like butt dialed on it, and I
Yes.
called like 3 times when I was
Yes, we get that quite a bit, you know. Oh, hey, I was in my back pocket. Well, you can hear it because you can stand there and listen to them and hear somebody walking or talking. And we'd actually call kids at school and saying, hey, and we send a police officer right in and say, okay.
And my sister, her friend, Devin, she accidentally called them while she was at our house, and they came to our house.
Yep.
Yeah. It was,
Usually if it's a teenage kid calling me 911 and he hangs up or saying, hey, wrong number, just so sorry, you're gonna get an officer at your door.
why?
Because I want them to know 911 is not something you just say, oh, sorry. You know, 911 is severity because you tied up that phone and somebody else was trying to call in and they couldn't get in because you were prank calling me.
So let's say, like a kid like my age would call you and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to call 511. And like say, I'm really sorry, I did not mean to call you, and then hang up the phone.
I'm gonna find out where you're at and I'm gonna send an officer to you.
Really?
Yeah.
But an older person does it, and
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know. Most of the time you can hear they're sincere, you know, they had no clue that their phone could dial 911, you know. Because sometimes they are on landlines, most of the time elderly people still have a landline phone.
geez.
Right. And other people don't, and they don't have a clue when they're calling on their cell phone, you know, hey, I have no clue how I dialed you 911, you
So-
know. So you just kinda have to play each call differently, you know, you have to just take in consideration what they just told you to, do I send an officer or don't I?
Have you ever got about that?
Many.
Really?
Yeah, she was just talking about it, many.
Because I remember, I used to have a contact under Popo, and if I were to accidentally butt dial that,
Uh-huh.
it was in my younger age, like last year. If I were to butt dial that and the cops showed up at my house, if I showed them a contact saying Popo and accidentally butt dial, would I still?
No, you won't get in trouble. No, just tell them exactly what happened. If the officer comes to your house, you explain to them, hey, it was in my pocket, I'm sorry. And they talk to you and they go on. I mean, you're not going to jail because you dial 911 accidentally and it's left in your pocket or whatever. You know, we just try to teach people, try to keep it out of your pocket because you're dialing me 911 when somebody else is trying to call me
What
that
would be
has
the code for that? Like 31, we got a possible 315 up in
Like those, like the 10-4 commands.
No, I would just give it to the officer and say, hey, you know, I just had a 911 call. It sounded like the phone was in somebody's pocket. You know, I tried calling them back. They're not answering. I need you to go to this
911
resident.
can call someone back.
Yes, I will call you back.
That is my biggest fear. If I were to butt dial 911 and then you get a call saying 911.
Yes. A lot of people, you know, answer like hesitant about it, but I'm going to call you on a landline and you won't have an idea, you know, whose it is calling you back, but I'm going to call you back because your number shows up on my 911 screen.
No, 911 calling you. I need your help.
What's the 511? Like, what's that for?
It's for a directory, but you can go online now on the computers instead of using, you know, calling the operator, which is going to cost you.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, we're not used to that.
I don't know it's 411.
Well, a lot of people say 411, a lot of people say 511. You know, they're going after the same thing.
Why would they do that? They have a 411 number or 511. That's so.
Yep.
92.
You never know. You never know.
Guess they're gonna have 9111.
Any other questions? Grant, you have any questions?
I'm glad it wasn't hard questions, kids.
We really appreciate you coming out here,
No problem. I enjoyed it.
giving us the opportunity to question you.
I enjoyed it.
I have a cousin who prank called cops. They came down and they took my phone and they took the battery out of it. Are they allowed to do that and drive off with it?
If a cop just did it, I'm not going to question that cop because I'm a dispatcher.
Because I didn't know he took my phone and did it.
Uh-huh.
Because I set it down in my grandpa's workbench. So he took it, ran off behind the trees, called them, set it back down where it was. And I was sitting on it and doing stuff. They came up and said, we had a call that said a kid came, prank called us. And so they were all looking at me.
Right.
And I said I had no idea what happened.
Right. I don't question a police officer. I send them on the call. What happens is their call, not mine. I did my job.
Have you ever actually, like, thought as a prank call and sent someone and it ended up being a real situation?
Yes.
Like,
That's
It
why
was
you gotta
actually-
take
it was
extreme
actually
precaution.
It was actually the message between mom and dad,
oh,
and he kept saying, no, there wasn't a problem.
Wait, what? He kept saying what?
There wasn't a problem. He kept saying, no, there wasn't a problem, and he hung up, thinking it was a prank call. Well, it really was a domestic between his mom and dad, and his mom actually got injured on it. So you just never know. That's why I say you never know. Wait a
Alright.
minute.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.